Welcome to part 3, everyone. The law of repetition. Just know this. What you focus on matters. You matter. Make sure you're conscious of all your choices. Enjoy the show. They have got you because repetition is the key to programming. And if you don't understand that you need to be the master at anything, you need to learn how to repeat things. Well, yeah, if you want to be a great pianist, you have to repeat things. If you want to be an Olympian, you have to repeat things. And just like I had to repeat things and read things over and over again. And the more that I did my shows, the better I became at them. I hope so anyways. The more that I practiced doing Wolfe Non-Surgical, the more I could pull fibroids apart and adhesions apart, and to the point that we actually will offer a money-back guarantee that the first treatment you get will do more than all the other treatments combined. I don't care what they are. So the reality is, if you want to practice something continually and put your heart into it, put your passion into it, you can master your life. And if you don't, guess what? The same commercial can run 5 times in 1 hour, and you'll find yourself going to the drugstore and getting a drug that can get rid of one symptom and actually cause 20, and it'd be life-threatening. But because we know that programming works, you'll actually just get up like a robot, go to the drugstore, or go to the doctor, get a prescription for this drug, or get an over-the-counter drug, because all drugs are toxic. All drugs cause bowel problems, and bowel problems are the main cause of all other problems. And that I'm going to stick to. And that's the reality. Because understand something. If you don't train your brain, others will do it for you. And that's what's going on. So if you're a big avid TV watcher, I know that you've been brainwashed. Now, you want to wash your own brain clean of dysfunctional beliefs. And understand something. Think about this, okay? I want you to really think about this. When we know that 62%, on average, 62% of the American population we know that the American population on average eats 62% of all the prescriptions made in the world. Did you get that? Oh, isn't that something? So understand something, and you may not get this either, but the United States is the strongest nation in the world. They are now one of the sickest nations in the world. And you got to understand that this has all been planned and plotted. And the reality is, it's to break United States, because if you could actually break United States as a country, then you could break every other country in the world, and then you could create a one world order. And I'm not going to get into it, but if you think I'm kidding, just take away the health of a nation, and then that nation, if they're unable to think or drink or eat or do good things for themselves, then they will be mastered by other masters. All right, let's move on, okay? So now, are you getting this? Your conscious mind is 10%, okay, of your brain. The subconscious is 10,000 times more powerful than the conscious mind. So let me tell you something. If you want something down on planet Earth, you are going to repeat that new belief, that new thought, that new image 10,000 times. So what type of body do you want? What type of health do you want? What type of wealth do you want? What is your passion? What is your purpose? And you're saying, what's this got to do with being the art of number 2? Okay, the art of number 2. Well, I'm going to tell you what's got to do with it. Because if you can master your bowel movements, you'll be able to master anything else. Because you're going to understand from me that it is repetition. It's learning how to do the same thing over and over again, that you never have to think about it consciously because your subconscious has accepted it. And now I just poop great every day. But the reality is, we think we poop great every day because everybody else in our family and all our friends don't poop great at all. Think about it. That's all I want you to do. Okay, so let's talk about this. The law of attention. So focus on the protocol, the belief system that's going to get you pooping good. Okay, and what would that be? Well, it matters what you think, drink, and eat, doesn't it? Okay, and then you've got to do the law of repetition, doing it over and over again. And understand something. Use your senses. Use your senses that you've been given. Touch, see, hear, smell, taste. And understand something. Everything in our life is electric impulse. That electric impulse goes to our brain neurons. Remember what I told you? So what I'm talking about is I'm talking about rewiring your brain, retraining your brain. You know when they say that that person has brain damage? Well, just know something. Your brain will actually create new wires to send new impulses, okay? The game is never over, okay? It will rewrite over top of broken programs. So we need to get that. And I'm telling you something, science would not accept that. They would even ostracize any scientist that would say that could happen. And understand, they banished them for years. But the reality is you can rewrite over brain problems, brain dysfunction. Okay? Don't believe what the experts say. So, law of attention, law of repetition, right? We create electric impulse, which I said earlier, because your emotions create frequencies. So what you're doing, and if you create a new thought, a new pattern, okay, electric impulse goes to brain neurons. You create an imprint. It goes to your sensory memory, okay, touch, see, hear, smell, taste. Then it goes into short-term memory. Then it goes into long-term memory. Okay, and then it becomes what? When it goes into long-term memory, because now it's been accepted by your subconscious, it's a prominent thought. So then it becomes a prominent program, which now becomes a habit. So now pooping great would be a habit. Eating great would be a habit. Loving yourself would be a habit. Loving everyone else would be a habit. But honoring, respecting yourself, okay, and holding the loving line will now be a habit. But you got to practice this stuff. So conscious goes to subconscious, right? So we got our conscious mind. Then we got our subconscious mind, which makes up 90% of our brain. And if you run that program and it becomes prominent enough, guess what? The unconscious part of your brain is your body. Okay, but it's not your brain. Well, what am I talking about? Well, let's put it this way. When I go to the bathroom, okay, I know how to pull my pants down, sit down on the toilet without thinking about it because I've done it so often. So that means that every cell in my body has picked up the program that is most prominent in my subconscious brain. So my whole body can do it, just like tying your shoe, like driving a car, like riding a bike, things like this. Once you've done it long enough, okay, so conscious, that means we got to be conscious, and to practice something 10,000 times, to then make it into the subconscious and make it a prominent thought, and then it gets accepted by the unconscious, which is the whole body. Okay? So there it is right there. So understand something. That major freeway, which is a prominent thought, okay, could be killing you. So now you're going to take just a little pathway that is a beautiful thought, and you're going to have to take that pathway many times to make it into a freeway. And when you do, you will have freedom. You will have total freedom. Okay? So understand this, everyone. Take a look everywhere. Please, just look everywhere right now. Okay? We know that 80% of the population is overweight. We know 60% of the population is obese. Okay? Take a look at the children. What sticks out in this picture? Take a look at this picture. All right? I mean, take a look at that little guy on the couch. I mean, he's a couch potato. He's in comatose. All right? She is vegging out on the TV. This is the children of today. Okay? They are blue light poisoned, okay, which means that television, they are channeled into the television and they are programmed to actually kill themselves now through blue light. And what else are you going to do when you eat? You get depressed. When you watch TV, you get depressed, you get hungry, you eat and eat and eat until you eat yourself to death. So between the blue light and between this is what's going on with our children. Our children are so constipated today. But guess what? Constipation is a normal thing now, isn't it? Because whatever the majority has, that's what's normal, right? So understand, like I said, 80% of the population is overweight. Okay? Health is being sold off by the pound. Or wait a minute, it's being sold to us by the pound, right? Bad bacteria, okay, are bad bacteria. That's why we call them bad bacteria. And understand something. We are supposed to have 85% good bacteria in the human body and 15% bad. It is the exact opposite. You go ahead. Don't believe me. Go check out, and I'll tell you something right now. It's like 95% of the population today, okay, to 98%, have more bad bacteria than good bacteria. But 80% of the population or more have 85% bad bacteria and only 15% good. But holy smokes, 92% of the population has an autoimmune disease, which means they have a screen door in a submarine, and that submarine is called the Holy Grail. And that Holy Grail is responsible for 85% of the body's immune system. But what if that Holy Grail is falling down and out? Well, take a look at people. Some people it's hanging right down over the belt. Other people, it looks like if you poked a pin into their tummy because they look like a beach ball, they would just, when the gas comes out, they'd fly all over the room. And we don't want that to happen. What a mess. But the reality is we have, in our society, majority rules. So even if somebody is the walking dead, okay, the walking dying, okay, it will be accepted as normal today. That, we are brain dead. We are brain dead. Okay, so let me just say this. It is so important that you get this, all right? How important is your poop? I'll tell you the scoop on poop is 1 gram of stool has 100 billion strong bacteria. Or it's going to have 1 billion weak bacteria. And if they're weak, then those weak bacteria are going to attack you. And understand something, bad bacteria give off bad moods. Yeah. Did I tell you earlier that your bacteria will talk 9 times to your brain when your brain only talks 1 time back? Now, if those bacteria are talking 9 times to your brain and they're mainly bad bacteria, then they're going to be bad frequencies, bad thoughts. Are you with me? So if you don't think that bad bacteria cause bad moods, then you are in a big surprise. And understand something. Those bad bacteria give off endotoxin, and endotoxin is very toxic. And that's what disturbs the whole gut-brain connection. That's what disturbs everything on an inflammatory connection, from colitis to ileitis to diverticulitis to ulcers. I mean, look at your intestine has only 1 cell thick on the lining, and we end up burning that out every day. And if you burn that 1 cell thick lining out, you are going to absorb so much toxins, okay, and fungus and bad bacteria and waste products. The reality is everything's set up like this because if it wasn't, you'd be dead already. If you didn't have symptoms, you'd be dead already. If you didn't have a GPS called pain, you would be dead already. And that is the God's truth. So let's get this. Bad moods, okay, equal bad foods. When's the last time you're in a bad mood and you made yourself a salad? When you're in a bad mood, you'll go to the same vibration of foods and eat those foods. So we know that bad moods equal bad foods. But did you know that bad foods equal bad bacteria, which then create a weak or otherwise bad immune system? So now let's get back to our original talk. The invisible creates the visible. The invisible creates the physical. And does anybody notice how much I repeat things? Well, I'm going to repeat things long enough and strong enough that you're going to be a master at this. How's that? So understand something. If you don't want to understand that your large intestine is the Holy Grail and you don't care, then you will break the gut-brain connection and you will have gut-brain disconnection. You will not think right. You will have emotional problems like a roller coaster. You'll be up and down like an elevator. How does that feel? Well, that is not heaven. That is hell. That's what's called living in hell. You can have hell on earth, and you're going to have hell on earth if you do not have bowel health, large intestinal health. And if you've got large intestinal health, you have no idea how good it could be. And that's why we want to learn how to have the perfect day every day. So take a look at the first picture on the left. Okay, so what is that? Down and out. Oh, come on. Do you understand that this gentleman's large intestine hasn't fallen down, it's fallen out? His large intestine is now, okay, about 5-6 inches down below his belt. So that means that when the waste comes in, it's got to go down into the valley and then climb back up the valley, but it's got no tone. So guess what he's got? He's got gut rot. He's got brain rot. Did you get that? So gut-brain disconnection means that when you've got gut rot, you've got brain rot. Okay? So understand something. He can't think right. And understand something. He's going to have not just memory problems. He's going to have brain dysfunction. As he gets older, it's going to get worse. And then you can be malnourished and dehydrated, and you're going to have down and in. As you can see in the middle picture, this person, their intestine would fall down and in, and it would shrink up and become like beef jerky. So it become really tight. Whereas with the first picture, it become really loose and just lay there limp. So with the down and out picture, the first one, it's just laying there like a dead snake, limp. And if you look at the last picture, gassed up, ready to blow. Well, that's what that is. That's gas. This guy has angina. Okay. He has also, he could have heart problems, right? He has trouble getting his breath. So that's the problems. And understand something. The first picture and the two end pictures, we've got low back problems. And we got low back problems because we've got no tone in the front. And with the middle picture, with the down and in, we've got low back problems because his back is going to be too tight. It's going to be like beef jerky. So understand something. I'm telling you right now that your low back problems are not in your, they're up in front. They're not, they start up in front. They don't start from your back. And understand something. It's your abdomen that gets you off the toilet. It's your abdomen that picks up the groceries, that picks up the children. It's your abdomen that moves you around. When you start falling down and when you can't get up from the couch, it's your abdomen that has no tone. So we have to be awake and we have to become alert. And we have to become alert to this gut-brain connection. And the only way you're going to do it is you're going to have to what? You're going to have to go back and change the image of what your life looks like so that you change your thoughts, so that you change your programs, so that you change your emotions and you make different choices. You make healthy choices. We want to eat things that are fresh and raw and vibrant and alive. I mean, come on. If you eat dead food, what do you become? If you eat live food, what do you become? Live food has fiber in it that is undigestible, that creates the compost. And that compost is your large intestine that creates the good bacteria. And it also is a scrub brush to go in and clean. That's why we need the fiber. And it also has the enzymes. It also has the minerals. It also has structured water in it. That's what fruit and vegetables have. If you want to eat things that are processed, they're dead. They have no vibratory level. They have no energy. We are light energy beings. Fruits, vegetables are the main things that hold light energy, hold high frequency. That's what we want to become. I'm telling you, I would not live with someone who eats only processed foods, crackers, ice cream, potato chips. God love them, but they're going to be up and down like a roller coaster. That's no relationship. You'd have to both be broken to be with each other. And that's the God's truth. Okay, let's take a look at this. Now, I want you to get this. This is really important, and this is the gut-brain connection, okay? First of all, let's take a look at what we call the pelvis at the very bottom. Otherwise, it's called the soup bowl. Now, why is it called a soup bowl? Well, take a look at the pelvis. It looks like a bowl. And look what's sitting in the bowl. What's sitting in the bowl? I'll tell you what's sitting in the bowl. Your second brain. What else is sitting in the bowl? Okay? This is where 85% of your energy is made and 85% of your energy is stored, but only if it is healthy. If that second brain, being your colon, is not healthy, if the small intestine is not healthy, then it is going to sit limp and dead within the pelvis, but it's going to be leaking toxins. Now, whether you want to believe this or not, this is the truth. That pelvic area, okay, is called the root chakra, or the root energy channel, whatever you want to call it, but it is the base station of energy. So what happens is the energy that's created in your abdominal cavity, okay, is stored in what we call the mesentery, which is like a lining around the abdominal cavity. But that energy is then taken and it is put into the coccyx, which is the very bottom tip of your spine, and it goes into the spinal fluid. So it picks up a lot of this energy that's in the pelvic bowl. That energy goes into the spinal fluid of the coccyx and runs up your spine, and it goes to the computer, which is your brain, and it relays messages and tells your brain what your body needs. And all the way up through your spine, you've got nerve endings going to all the organs, all the tissues throughout the whole body. So information goes up, translates to the computer. The computer says, sends this hormone, send this chemical, send this, do this, shut this down. But guess what? What if you've got a gut-brain disconnection in your pelvis? Then guess what? That computer's broken. Okay? The programs are dysfunctional. And I'm going to tell you something, whether you want to believe this, to memory problems, to every neurological disease. And guess what? Everything is a neurological disease. I don't think you get this. Every condition in the human body is a neurological disease. But the ones that stick out are things like MS, right? Parkinson's. I could keep going. Lou Gehrig's. So those are the ones that stick out, but everything, even just somebody with a shaky little hand, somebody that has an intestinal problem, liver problem, pancreatic problem, they're all neurological diseases. And if you don't want to look after the soup bowl, which is called the pelvis, which is where energy central is, that collects all the energy, all the information to take it up to the computer, then you're going to have a dysfunctional life. All right. So understand this. We are walking, talking bodies of bacteria. Okay? All right? Bacteria to cells. Do you realize that bacteria to cells, it's 10 to 1? So we've got like 50 trillion cells in our body, but we have 500 trillion good bacteria in our body. So we are walking, talking globs of bacteria. So you go ahead and attack that bacteria. And understand something. Do you know what? If medical health was true health care, they'd be telling you how to protect your bacteria, not to attack it. Okay? And they would be telling you that the inner terrain is everything. Your inner terrain decides what's going to live there, whether it's bad bacteria or a worm or viruses that are dead anyways, or it's going to be fungus because the yeast turned into fungus. But it's all environment. Let me ask you a question. So when you come home and the family's fighting and everybody's depressed or angry, how does that make you feel right away? When you come home and the family is just loving and hugging and saying, how are you? I love you. And you say, I love you back. Now tell me the environment doesn't matter. Now tell me it doesn't matter. So understand something. Issues in the tissues. Where do you bury your emotional toxicity? Okay? Understand something. Go take a look at my A to Z Wellness Masterclass. And when you go in there into the manual, I want you to go in there and take a look, because in that manual, I talk about where you bury what emotion and what emotion gets buried in different parts of the body, and see if I'm right. And then also take a look at my Masterclass, okay? All right? The emotional chemistry of disease and healing. And then tell me I'm wrong. Because understand something. The image, the thought, the emotion, the frequency, it triggers the brain first. What if it's a negative emotion, a negative thought, negative image, and you keep running it continually like a little mouse on a wheel? What do you think is going to happen if you terrorize yourself? Well, you're terrorizing your brain. You're tearing it apart, and you're inflaming it. Did you know that I'll be showing in this masterclass that, not this one, but in the emotional chemistry of disease and healing, that the brain gets inflamed first before any part of the body. And that you could say, oh, I have this disease. And then we could take an x-ray of the brain and we'd actually find the inflammation and the scar tissue in that part of the brain that actually says, yeah, you're right. Or we could go and take a look at this, take a look at the actual brain and see the scar tissue and the inflammation. And we could tell you where your problem is in the body. So understand something. We damage our brain before we damage the rest of our body because it is the computer that runs all the hormones and chemicals. Doesn't that sound logical? Now, the medical science does not want to look at this. Okay? Medical science does not believe in the invisible energy. How medical doctors work is they work from death backwards. How natural health works is we work from life forwards. Think about it and ask yourself which one sounds right. Okay, so where do we hide our dirty little secrets? Well, understand something. I would hide mine in my poop if I didn't want somebody to find them. Okay, so let me ask you a question. Have you ever had really bad cramps? Have you ever had really bad, oh, I feel sick to my stomach. You make me sick to my stomach. I can't digest that, you know? Okay, I've got knots in my stomach. Well, understand, I know it's a physical problem, but that physical problem was an emotional one prior to it being that. So the reality is if you don't learn to let go or you don't have the tools to process negative emotions, then you're going to end up storing them until you do. And what if you never do? Those little negative emotions could become pimples, cysts, boils, tumors, fibroids, joint problems, organ problems. I think you get the message, right? So understand something. Buried emotions, like I said, you make me sick. I can't stomach this. My stomach is in knots. Thought form always creates physical form. It always comes before physical form. You need to get this, okay? So here we go, guys. So understand something. You know, you may not like the way other people poo. Maybe you like your toilet, but understand something. If you don't wake up to this, then you're not going to be treated royal. So take a look at this picture. Royal throne, closed for business. Now, this is absolutely the wrong way to have to take a poop. All right? Take a look at the royal squat. Now, this is the way that people, most of the population around the world, actually go to the bathroom. That's right. When you squat, you open up. You open up your pelvis. Now, I have a bunch of exercises called pelvic activation squats that you can see in the do-it-yourself guide in my library. And I also have what's called pelvic expander. I also have what's called belly button therapy. And you better start doing these things. If you don't want to give up your toilet and don't want to start squatting when you poo or you pee, then understand something. Then you are closing yourself down for business. And I'm going to tell you something. You don't want to close down when it comes to eliminating waste. You got to go with the flow. When we don't go with the flow in life on an emotional and physical level, then guess what? We are going to stagnate. When we stagnate, guess what we do? We putrefy. And when it comes to your abdomen, we call that gut rot. And when that's the everything of disease. And that's where it gets its foothold. I will sit down with anybody, any specialist that wants to tell you a different theory, and I promise, give me 20 of them. We'll sit down, we'll discuss it, and I will prove every time that the Holy Grail is the large intestine. And if you were to mind your own business and didn't close for business, you would be healthy. You would be vital. You'd be happy. You'd have so much energy. And that's the deal. So understand something. If you're not willing to flush the pounds, you'll never lighten the load on an emotional or physical level. And understand something, everybody. You need to get this, okay? The weight loss industry is built on a bunch of lies. It's not calories. It's not eating processed foods. It's got nothing to do with anything except taking life in. Okay? And understand something. It's not a weight problem. It's a waist problem. Okay? And guess what? Why do they call it a waistline? Okay? I'll tell you something. Your waistline should be lean, keen. Okay? That's right. Is your waistline lean and keen? The bigger your waistline is, the more waste you are piling up inside of yourself, and the more emotional waste you are piling up inside yourself. And don't tell me that people that are unhealthy have balanced emotions and have a balanced life. It's not true. I am not picking on anyone. Everybody is beautiful, and you need to get this. And I'm not just saying this, everybody is beautiful, but everybody doesn't have beautiful programs that they run. And if you don't run beautiful programs for yourself, you're not going to have beautiful health. I'm not even talking about beautiful body. I'm talking about beautiful health. I don't want you to live in hell. Listen, if you could weigh 100 pounds overweight, what the average weight is, and you could have total health, who cares? If you love it, great. But the reality is that science and statistics show that with every pound overweight we are, the more chances we have of heart attacks, blood pressure problems, mental problems, okay, cancer, diabetes. The list goes on and on and on. But we all just take it normal. And you know what? You're not going to believe this, and you don't want to believe this, but you think you love yourself. You think that you're okay, but you don't know this because your subconscious rules, schools, and fools you because we've been rule schooled and fooled. And the reality is if you hang around with everybody that's overweight, then overweight becomes normal. If you have what we call an unloving relationship within your family, it's still the only love you know. So the reality is, what is a good poop? What is a good diet? What is love? What is really love? Well, love is something you should be doing for yourself. Health is something you should be doing for yourself. You should be loving yourself well. You should be dealing with self-care, not health-care. You should be you're only dealing with me to learn how to become your own practitioner, to train yourself how to create that perfect day. And let me tell you something. Don't tell me that you're happy, okay, when you have diabetes, when you have high blood pressure, when you have low back problems, when you have a tumor, when you have fibroids, when you're so stiff you can't move, when you only can sit and you can't play. I just have to get used to this. Isn't it kind of funny? We'll get used to anything, won't we? Because we can be programmed. This is the end of part 3, the law of repetition. So now you know that practice makes perfect. We will see you in part 4, the scoop on poop.